The Russian Revolution of 1917 was a tumultuous period in Russian history that saw the fall of the Romanov dynasty and the rise of the Soviet Union. The events leading up to the revolution were complex and varied, but they can be broadly divided into two phases: the February Revolution and the October Revolution. The February Revolution began on March 8, 1917, when a series of protests and strikes erupted in Petrograd, the capital of Russia. These protests were fueled by a number of factors, including the high cost of living, the shortage of food and fuel, and the heavy losses suffered by the Russian army in World War I. The protests quickly spread throughout the city, and the crowds soon began to call for the overthrow of Tsar Nicholas II. Nicholas, who was at the front lines with the army, was slow to respond to the crisis, and by the time he returned to Petrograd, the situation had spiraled out of control. On March 15, Nicholas abdicated the throne in favor of his brother Michael, who refused to accept the crown. With the monarchy effectively overthrown, a provisional government was established, led by Alexander Kerensky. The provisional government faced numerous challenges from the outset, including the ongoing war with Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which had drained the country's resources and weakened the military. The government was also plagued by political instability and infighting, with various factions jostling for power and influence. One of these factions was the Bolshevik Party, led by Vladimir Lenin. Lenin had been living in exile in Switzerland for several years, but he saw the turmoil in Russia as an opportunity to seize power and establish a socialist government. In April 1917, Lenin returned to Russia, and he began working to build support for the Bolshevik cause. By the fall of 1917, the Bolsheviks had gained significant popular support, particularly among the urban working class and the soldiers who had grown disillusioned with the war. In October, Lenin and his fellow Bolsheviks launched a second revolution, known as the October Revolution, which aimed to overthrow the provisional government and establish a socialist state. The Bolsheviks' coup was swift and decisive. On October 25, the Bolsheviks stormed the Winter Palace in Petrograd, where the provisional government was located. The government's leaders were arrested, and the Bolsheviks declared the establishment of a new government, the Council of People's Commissars, which was headed by Lenin. The Bolsheviks quickly set about implementing their socialist agenda. They nationalized the country's land and industries, redistributed wealth, and established a system of workers' councils, or Soviets, to oversee the country's affairs. The Bolsheviks also established a secret police force, the Chayka, to suppress opposition to their regime. Despite the Bolsheviks' efforts to transform Russia into a socialist paradise, the country faced enormous challenges in the years that followed. The civil war that erupted in 1918 pitted the Bolsheviks against a variety of opponents, including monarchists, nationalists, and foreign powers, and resulted in the deaths of millions of people. The war also devastated the country's economy, leaving it in a state of near collapse. In response to these challenges, Lenin implemented a series of policies aimed at revitalizing the economy and stabilizing the country. These policies, collectively known as the New Economic Policy, allowed for limited capitalism and private enterprise, while maintaining state control over key industries. The NEP proved successful in reviving the economy, but it also led to tensions within the Bolshevik Party, as some members felt that it represented a betrayal of socialist principles. These tensions came to a head in 1924, when Lenin died, leaving a power vacuum.